Welcome to layout video number 1 for my model railroad. I'm making these videos as a way to document the progress on construction and operation of my very first model railroad. So we'll start with an overview of everything that I've completed to date. What you see in front of you is the main layout table and a little bit of the start of the branch line. I'm working in a room that's roughly 12 by 12 in my basement. It used to be a workout room from the previous owner, and for me it's my first dedicated area to have a model railroad. I want to document this process as this is the first model railroad that I've constructed. I was a part of a railroad club, a model railroad club in college, where I learned some basics about model railroad construction, wiring, digital command control, weathering, airbrushing operations. But that was about almost 8 years ago since I graduated college and left the club, and I haven't really been able to be active in the hobby since then. I didn't really have the space for a permanent setup. So excited to finally have this opportunity to build a permanent setup and want to document it through these layout update videos. So the main board of the layout is this 8 foot by just under 6 foot table. I went with a larger table than the 4 by 8 standard because I need a larger radius curve for some passenger operations I want to do. I've got Rapido coaches and some nice Walthers coaches and passenger cars, and they require a larger radius than what you could normally fit on a 4 by 8 standard sheet. So made the table a little wider. That's going to give us some wider radius curves and a little bit more operational impact we can put in here with some industries. The main table is split into a 4 by 8 tabletop with an extension on the side here. So the 4 by 8 was pretty simple. I made a frame with 1 by 4s and put a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood on top. And after watching a couple videos on YouTube and reading some books, some old publications that I have about layout construction, it was pretty straightforward and actually pretty easy to build for someone with really very minimal woodworking skills. So if you get up on the other side here, you can see I made a couple of H legs with 1 by 4s, L-shaped in the corners. Attached them to the 1 by 4 frame with some carriage bolts and ran some braces. The braces really helped stabilize the table. The H legs have a support across the middle as well, but really these 1 by 4s right here running from leg to leg really added some stability to the table. So that's the main 4 by 8 part of the main table, and I'll go around and I'll show you the extension that I made to make it a 5 by 8 5 foot 8 inch by 8 foot table. So similar construction, made a frame with 1 by 4s, carriage bolts. I decided here that 2 by 2s would be adequate for the legs and didn't need to make a big H leg shape, and used the 1 by 4 supports again. Really helps to stabilize the table. And then when I got it placed up against the 4 by 8 portion, I ran some carriage bolts down the middle just to hold them together. And it's really made a pretty solid table. Probably not the best for under storage, but really the table does not move and is solid construction, I'd say, for someone with no woodworking skills. I guess in hindsight, it probably would have been a better idea to come up with a design that gave me some more efficient under layout storage, but here we are. And I'm sure I can retrofit something in here if I need to store some trains under the table for easier access besides just the totes and the boxes that you see back there. So then after that, once the table was completed, I got some foam to put on top for my main layer here of the sub roadbed, and it's just 2-inch home insulation foam board. Green is what they had at Lowe's that day. I don't really have a preference on the thickness other than I went with 2 inches because it gives me a little bit of opportunity to maybe put in some ditches or some kind of carving out of the foam that when you go with a thinner section you can't really do. I put that on the tabletop with liquid nails for projects using a caulk gun, but before I did, I spray painted it brown, an earth color, to hide the green, mask the green, and make a nice natural tone when we start putting down scenery material in the future. And when you spray paint foam, you want to be careful that you don't overdo it. The paint will actually deteriorate the foam if you get too aggressive with your application. So you can see it's not a full application, but really that's okay. What we want is to just mask that green and get a nice earth color in there. Got some trains out right now just to be able to run something. Got some my old DC throttle when I was a kid, power pack, and just a loop of Kato Unitrack that I had purchased at one time before I could do a real layout. So that's not going to stay. That's temporary, just so we can run some trains when we're not working on anything. The system I'm going with here is the Digitrax Evolution Express, the new set with the DCS 210 Plus command station and the new DT 602 LocoNet throttle. Very excited to get this up and running and see how it performs. Digitrax is what we used in the railroad club I was in college, so that's what I was familiar with, and it was an easy choice for me then to select that for my own railroad. Moving on over here, I do have the future home of the booster set up here under the layout. Built a little shelf for it, and the booster and transformer will sit down here, and the bus wire will come out and head that way and run around the layout, making a loop, come back over here, and then move on to the branch line, which I've started construction on, and we'll go along this wall here to the corner and behind the door. I went with a open grid for the table because I wanted to keep it flat and incorporate some industries and a passenger station that don't really necessitate elevation change. But when we get over here to the branch line, I'm trying my hand at L-girder benchwork for the first time. There's a bridge scene that's going to go here, and as we come around the corner, there's going to be a little bit of scenery elevation change before flattening out for the industry on the end of the branch line. So my first time with L-girder benchwork, and I'm not really sure if I've got the hang of it yet, but got to start somewhere, I guess. So got the wire here for the bus using 14 gauge copper stranded wire. Stranded is more flexible, and 14 gauge should be adequate for just this size of layout. If you have longer runs of bus, you need to move up to 12 gauge on DCC, but 14 gauge should be adequate here. And I have the suitcase connectors for the feeder wires when we're ready to install those. So, of course, have a beer down here while we're working on the layout. Tonight we've got the Gugman House Woodlands American IPA. Pretty hoppy. It's definitely a good beer to have when working on the railroad. So I think that's about it for layout update number 1. Oh, I guess I should mention I added these lights as well. LED shop lights from Costco. Very, very worthwhile purchase. Really added to the light of the room. Before we had just those can lights up there, and really they did not adequately illuminate the room. The LED lights made a big difference. Might need to clean up the cords a little bit in the future, but they are linkable, which is a really nice feature. So they're linkable. They are motion sensor activated, and they turn off automatically after motion is not detected. So really nice light for $20 a light. I'm very impressed with them. They have a remote as well. You can change a lot of the motion sensor settings, the timers, and they have 10 brightness settings. So very important to get adequate lighting on your layout, especially if you want to take any kind of video or photos, and it was a good investment. Also, pretty obvious, but goes without saying, I did paint the walls where we're going to have the backdrop of the layout. We had a pretty interesting yellow color here, and that's not going to work for the background of the layout, so went with the blue. I haven't painted this wall yet, but we'll probably end up painting it blue as well. So my next step on the layout really is to run the bus wire. I've got a track plan made up on the computer using an old program called X-Track CAD, where I've laid out the track plan on this table. I've actually already printed a copy and set it up on the table. I made some tweaks and edits after having a mock-up here on the actual table. Went and put those into the software, revised the track plan a little bit, came out, printed a new one, and am ready to set it up on the table, see how it looks, mark out where we need to put the roadbed. Have the roadbed ordered. It's here under the table. A lot of the flex track is here too. I'm having a hard time getting turnouts. I've got several curved turnouts on this layout for a couple reasons. Really, it's to maximize space. If I want to get some more room in for passenger track or runaround track, I needed some curved turnouts to maximize the space in the corner of the layout. And I'm using some micro engineering turnouts for my number 6s, and really they are hard to find. Toyed with the idea of building my own turnouts, but I don't know if I've got the skill set or the time really to do that. I don't have a lot of time to work on the layout, and I hear it can take upwards of 4 hours to construct one turnout. I just don't know if I've got the patience or the skill or the availability of time to do that right now. So kind of waiting to see if I can get some microengineering turnouts. Walthers is making a new run of DCC friendly curve turnouts. So got some of those on back order. We'll see if they pop out anytime soon. But I'm really ready to get started with the roadbed and track laying. And now that the table is done. So we'll see. May have to make some adjustments on the fly so we can get some trains running. The other thing I'm going to do here before once I get the layout in this corner settled is I'm going to trim this corner here and round it off or angle it off, because the gap here between the door and the corner of the table is really pretty tight. I can fit through here, but I got to think about it. There's a 24-inch aisle here on this side, which is not bad. You could put a couple people in here. It would be hard to pass, but it could be done. You can open the closet all the way, which is good. But this corner here really is kind of tight coming around the door that unfortunately only opens in like that door. So I can't really even open the door out. This corner, I don't think I'm going to round it off. I'm going to, in my track plan, I have an industry that comes out to here. There might be a little bit of trimming that we can do here, but not much. The branch line will come off of the wall on the left here, 18 inches, so we should have a 28-inch aisle here between this table and the branch line, so two people could fit in here past each other comfortably. So that's it for layout video number 1. When I've got some more progress, I'll update with layout video number 2.